This is a response to a video for Ron Haggerty's contest where he wants you to name your favorite band and your favorite album by the band you're into that's your favorite, and how many times you saw them live. So yeah, I wrestle with that a little bit. When somebody's like, "What's your favorite band?" I'm like, "Oh man, give me a break. I don't want to just tell you what my favorite band is. It could change every day, you know." And it does. I mean, there's been times when have cited many other bands as my favorite band, but when I'm thinking about this contest and the band that had the biggest impact on me, the band that led me to discover so much more music, you know, band came at a very pivotal time for me when I was 15 years old and in 1987, and that band is R.E.M. I've talked about them before. Invaluable to me. They changed the way I looked at music before I discovered them. Music was a big thing. It was hair metal. It was in arenas or, really big shows, Monsters of Rock type things. The Van Halens and the Iron Maidens and all that stuff, which, they can be really great bands, but I mean, this was so much smaller. This was like getting used to or getting immersed in like a club type band, even though, it was probably a 3,000 seater when I saw them. But I was super lucky because I got turned on to this band and got into them right before they broke like wide open. And that was on the Document tour. The One I Love had just come out, and that day that I decided I wanted to buy their new album, I ended up buying both of them, or I say both of them, Document and Life Search Pageant, because I was already used to hearing Fall on Me in the radio, and I really liked it and had been intrigued by it for about 6 months, hearing that. But I mean, you could start anywhere with their IRS stuff. I always think that the band IRS years are just so different from the Warner Brothers, and there's plenty I like about the Warner Brothers years too. But there was something real special about the IRS years. They were smaller. They changed with every album. It seemed like Stipe was constantly changing his look. There was a lot of mystique and mystery to everything the band did. Really, the way they represented themselves on stage, the way they designed their album covers, photo shoots, advertisements for their records, all of that. I mean, start out with Chronic Town, Murmur, and the story of me and Murmur. I actually borrowed that from a friend's, or no, we traded him actually. It was I had this collection called White Boy Blues. I think I mentioned this in another video. It had Clapton, Beck, and Page on it, and I couldn't get into it. I didn't really care. I liked Led Zeppelin a lot, but I could care less about just their individual works at that time. And it was like outtake type stuff. But anyway, I traded him that for Murmur, but I couldn't really get into it. The only songs that kind of made sense to me were Catapult and Radio Free Europe, and it just didn't really click until I started hearing things off Life Search Pageant, like Fall on Me. But sometimes this album, Reckoning, is a favorite. A lot of times I go back and forth between Life Search Pageant and Reckoning as my favorite R.E.M. album. Fables is not my favorite, but I definitely all the every single one of the IRS records. But if push comes to shove, this is my favorite REM record, Life Search Pageant from 1986. It's ballsy for them. It's like they finally kind of got their live sound nailed on a record. It's more of a rock record. All the songs are pretty good, if not killer. It sustains a mood pretty well. It's sequenced incredibly well. It's the album that probably has the most songs that I want to hear live when I saw them live. And of course, I used to go back and forth between Document and Life Search Pageant. I will say that Document speaks to these times, especially during the reign of the last president, like few albums did, even though it came out, back in '87. Brilliant political record. But yeah, if I had to push comes to shove and I have to name my favorite, it's Life Search Pageant from R.E.M. Now, I saw them live, I think I totaled up 10 or 11 times. I think it was 11. The first time is definitely the best and most memorable. It was November 8th, 1987. It was at Memorial Hall in Kansas City. I had gotten turned on to them probably a month or 6 weeks prior to that, and had gotten all their albums. They had 5 up to that point, and a compilation album called, a B-sides called Dead Letter Office. I was completely obsessed with that band. Then I got to see them live all in a very, very short period of time. And seeing them live is really what changed a lot of it for me. That became a much smaller, intimate thing. They were constantly doing cover songs, just interesting things. They would mention other bands in interviews, but that live show, my God, it was cool. It was great. And the funny thing is, a year later to the date, Green came out, that following record and the first record on Warner Brothers. But other notable live shows from them, I saw them on the Green tour, but it was in a huge place, and it was good, but it just was not the same. When did I see them? Let's see. The second best, other than that first one, is when I saw them at Midway Stadium in St. Paul, Minnesota. It just there was something in the air that just it was outdoor minor league baseball team. It started raining, and I mean like pouring, and nobody left, and it became kind of a big party. And they started doing cover songs of like CCR songs like "Who Will Stop the Rain" or "Moon River" and stuff like that, and it just was so much fun. I was in their fan club for years, so I usually got pretty good tickets to things. Saw them several times on the like greatest hits tour that they did in like 2003. Saw them on Around the Sun, which comes to my least favorite album by R.E.M. It is Around the Sun. Uh, Something was up with it right away. I had heard Final Straw and I liked it. It came out as like a song to I think protest the war that was going on early, so I was familiar with that song before it hit the record, before the record came out. The single had been leaving New York, and I just was scratching my head a little bit. And the album just, I don't know, it sounded like easy listening or something to me. And I saw them, I think this day it came out or the day after it came out, like immediately after it came out. They were in Minneapolis, St. Paul for the Vote for Change tour. And I just remember looking at my friend and going, yeah, their new album, it just sucks. It's not good. I've warmed up to it a little bit. I think it's a good album if you know what you're getting into, but compared to the high quality of their previous records, it does not even come anywhere near that. And yeah, it was the first time where I thought, maybe these guys should hang it up. But I'm glad they didn't, because another absolutely incredible show I saw was South by Southwest in 2008. They put out Accelerate, which was like just put down, let's stop finessing songs to death. Let's put down the mandolins. Let's put down the electronics. Let's just bang out a rock record. They rehearsed it in Dublin over a series of like 5 nights. A live album came out from that later on. And the album Accelerate was recorded. And it is raw. It's rocking. It's more like Document Life Search Pageant, although it seems a little forced, not quite as good. But it was really nice to see them put out a rock record again. And that show at South by Southwest was a lot of fun, and they were on fire. I recently ran across a couple of videos. If I get ballsy, maybe I'll put one attached to this. I haven't really done that yet with this channel, but we'll see what I have, especially if it's maybe from that era. I'll add something. But yeah, and then I think the last time I saw them was later on that tour, on the Accelerate tour. They came to Minneapolis, St. Paul. I want to say I almost saw them twice on that tour in addition to South by Southwest. But anyway, I do remember I was up pretty close with that last show, and it was really good too. And I was one that was actually kind of glad they were breaking up. I thought, you know what, good. They had an amazing run. Let's not like milk it forever. They seem like it would do damage to their credibility. But yeah, I know it's a kind of a divisive band these days for some reason. I think some of these personalities that we fall in love with get so big, we start to see sides of them we don't like, or people, later generations, younger people, see them and they're just like, oh, ew, they don't like that persona that they've seen a million times. Back when I discovered them, you could barely find a clip. You would never. I mean, you would hope that maybe something would show up on MTV News or something, some clue in a video. It was just super mysterious and cool, and a lot of that's lost these days. But anyway, cool contest. Encourage everybody else to do it, and yeah, that's what I have.